people will join us. I always like to point out when we have special guests. I guess we have Cher in the audience this afternoon, so nice to have Cher. And Happy New Year to everyone, and welcome to the first Messy Conversation of 2023 and the first Messy Conversation of this winter quarter, where we've got a good lineup of messy conversations for you. I just want to run through some of them real quickly. Next week, we won't be meeting because we'll be honoring M.L. King Jr. Day next Monday, but we'll be back in 2 weeks when Anna Kwong, head of the undergraduate studies program in Santa Barbara, will be in conversation with Dr. Jardine and Dr. Simmons about anti-racism pedagogy. And so as people involved in higher education, we're all interested in those issues. So hopefully you can make it to that. The following week, February 6th, Clarence Williams and myself will be in conversation. It will be our book club. We try to do a book club every quarter. This quarter, Clarence and I will be in conversation about Saidiya Hartman's incredible book. Love this book, Wayward Lives and Beautiful Experiments. So, pick up the book. I don't know. Where could you get the book? I don't know.
Maybe Malik Books.
Maybe
Malik Books or
yeah.
malikbooks.com.
That's a
that's
possibility.
right.
And then Clarence and I will also choose some chapters, from the book, because we don't expect that anybody will read the entire book for the book club, and we'll make those available to you. On the 13th, Asa and Rosa Garza Marino will be leading us through a really interesting exercise, which they're calling Heart to Heart in 6 Words. And Rosa will share more about that in the weeks to come. That'll be fun. The 20th is President's Day, and then our final messy conversation for winter quarter. Again, Anna Kwong, she's on fire this quarter. She's going to be in conversation with Dr. Everett about the history of the Black community in Santa Barbara. Just let that sink in for a minute. That's what we have coming up. I want to mention, it's just the thing I like to do, but today is 2 important persons' birthdays. Simone de Beauvoir's birthday today. I think she would have been 115 years old, which is really hard to believe. And you say, well, who's that? Well, she's the person who wrote The Second Sex. And you might be thinking, well, where could I get a copy of The Second Sex? I don't know. Oh, maybe Malik's bookstore.
Yeah. There you go.
Maybe. And it's also Rigoberta Menchu's birthday. She's 62 years old. You may remember that in 1992, she won the Nobel Peace Prize for her work in Guatemala and Central America with indigenous folk. A real hero to a lot of us. And it's her birthday today as well. What else do I have? I want to mention that, I gave the list of topics that we'll be covering. And if you would like to be more involved in messy conversations, we encourage you to do so. We need all the help we can get. So if you'd like to be part of the planning team, you can reach out to me or any of the other members of the planning team. If you have a topic and you're like, why doesn't Messy Conversations ever talk about this? Reach out to one of us. And we'll be glad to consider that. If you have someone in mind who would be a great conversationalist, and for some reason we've never invited them, reach out to one of us. And if you have any suggestions for how to improve Messy Conversations, we want this to remain a vital organ for the work of Antiochians as we reflect on and engage in conversation about how to be more fully an anti-racist institution. So don't be shy. And last but not least, if you have any questions throughout today's conversation, please put them in the chat. I'll be monitoring it throughout the conversation, and we'll be sure and get to you and give you an opportunity to bring your questions or your comments more fully into the conversation. And otherwise, please remain muted. It really helps the conversation flow if we don't have a lot of background noise. So with that, today we're very excited to have Malik and April from Malik Bookstore joining us. And I'm going to pitch it over to Dr. Elaine Parker-Gills to introduce them and get our conversation started. Elaine?
Thank you, David. So welcome everyone and Happy New Year. We're really excited to be with you today. And I think we have a very unique conversation ready for you. And I want to get right into it. When you think about it, devastation to elevation, and we're thinking and talking about Black bookstores. And I don't think that we often, I know we have not really discussed bookstores, and we've had a long time partnership with Estewan doing the Messy Conversation. So we were very excited when April and Malik, who founded the bookstore in 1990, said that they would be happy to join us. They're going to be presenting the book certificates for all the participants in Messy Conversation going forward. And so when I talked to them about it, they gave us a great background. And I said, you know, you can go to the Lip Guide to understand their background and what they're doing and what inspired them. But they're here. So I want to start it right off and say, why a Black bookstore? And by the way, doing a little research, the first Black bookstore was in 1834, founded by David Ruggie, a Black abolitionist. And that's the first bookstore. So talking about on the shoulders of giants. So we really appreciate what you're doing. And what about a little background and why a Black bookstore?
Why? Why not? You can talk about all the problems, but we have to focus on solutions. And we consider having a Black bookstore is progressive to be able to change the conversation. Books bring a whole world of opportunity. And like me personally, I graduated from USC. I had a degree, but I didn't have a knowledge of self. And when we first started in this book business, most of the books were self-published. A lot of these books you couldn't find in mainstream bookstores. And I think that, knowledge of self is important in order to understand your ancestors, understand your past, and in order to be able to chart out a roadmap into the future, you have to understand certain things about yourself, because we believe love of self is very important for your development and for your achievement. So opening a bookstore was just something that I wanted to do after I graduated from USC, having a degree, but I didn't have a knowledge of self. And books changed my life. It opened up, change your thoughts, change your life. So I think that opening up a bookstore and giving an outlet to give voice to the voiceless was just the progressive thing to do. So this is one of the reasons why back in 1990, I opened up and founded Malik Books, is because instead of talking about the problem, I thought books can help solve some of our issues that we suffer from. And I think like mental health, I think a lot of the mental health in our community is simply because of a lack of knowledge and a lack of discipline and a lack of love of self. And I think that having knowledge of self is just one of the ingredients, not everything, but it's just one of the things to make you feel proud and good about yourself, because representation does matter. And so the first thing I always say, people, when they look at a picture, the first thing you look at is yourself, So when you don't see yourself, when you don't identify yourself in anything, it's kind of hard, it's kind of difficult. And to move forward in a progressive manner, we trying to, we got individual achievements, but how do you move the whole neighborhood, the whole community in the positive, in the direction of positivity and change, you know, and that's a difficult thing to do. And I just think that sometimes, you know, books can be one of the reasons how a person can transform their life. We have many examples of people without degrees, but yet elevated themselves because they decided they wanted to read to achieve.
Mhm, mhm. So part of this social political uplift that we've seen, and particularly over the last 2 or 3 years, there's been an increase in the number of the engagement of even people outside of Black communities with Black bookstores. How do you all see the role in terms of you know, social justice and uplift and engagement? What role do bookstores actually play in the Black community, even in terms of economic development? I mean, we're all very much aware of you know, Amazon and these major companies. So bookstores have a role to play, but it can be easy.
No. In fact, you know, like anything in life, you know, sacrifice is important for achievement. But I'll say this is that because I was always, you know, history will repeat itself until you get it correct. And so all these cycles that you see now, you know, part of it in the 1990s, that was part of what we call the Black Book Revolution, where all these Black bookstores popped up all over America with the same motive in mind, was to bring information and create dialogue. And so history is always going to repeat itself. So we now 2023 now, and all of a sudden you see a resurgence, even though you in the era of Amazon. And Amazon is the bookstore killer. I see it, you know. And I think that, you know, it's very important because we didn't learn enough from the 80s, from in the 90s and 2000s. So all of a sudden now we back into the same. Back then it was a movement, it was multiculturalism. And multiculturalism was the word that was used. Today they use the word equity, inclusion, I mean diversity, you know, but it's the same thing. It's basically representation. It's basically, you in the publishing business, representing, you know, books that speak to the diversity that exists in America. And Black people have a voice. And we create a melting pot at Malik Books and all these Black bookstores that popped up as a way to give voice to the voiceless. It's not that, you know, anyone's pushing anybody off the shelf. It's that we trying to get on the shelf. And so one of the things that we see is that history just repeating itself again, because I guess we do a good enough job in the 90s. So now we fast forward to 2023. There's a lot of injustice still to take place. There's a lot of social injustice. There's a lot of racism. There's a lot of discrimination. Books can play a part in helping educate people in all you know, walks of life. And so you know, racism is the elephant in the room. You know, and it's you know, you call it messy conversation because it's a lot of conversation that need to be had. And so we need to, you know, we think that books can be a viable place and bookstores can be a viable outlet where people can come together, dialogue, create discussions, and have seminars, workshops to create a generation of change. Because that's what we need. We got to change something, because if we continue to go down the road we've been going down, we'll get some individual achievements that we always do. You can see in the 30s and then in the 1940s, you got individuals, but how do we move the whole community? You know, how do we move the neighborhood? You know, how do we move this nation in a direction where people can see each other for the character and the content of each other and not the skin color? You know, how do we do that? That's a difficult task, but we're up to the challenge, because it's important that we create that generation of change, because we all in this together. We all on this ship together. We all on this boat together. And so we need to find solutions. And we think books and bookstores are the outlet to contribute to the next generation of change.
I was speaking with April recently, and she was enlightening me about the different services. And I want for you all to maybe give us more information about the podcast recently
Yeah.
and this bookmobile.
Yeah.
And that, I hear a lot more about that at, Harlem and other places, but I'm just, delighted and very excited. So can maybe you all share some information?
Well,
about-
we launched the Bookmobile February of last year, and it was a hit. We go to so many different schools. We give the children an opportunity to have an actual bookstore come to them, like the Scholastics. We are actually Scholastics now. We
Mm.
have diversity books for everyone that represents everyone when we go to these schools. We have a Bookmobile. We have the podcast that's been launched for about a year now.
Yeah,
The
about a
podcast
year.
is about a year.
Yes.
We have the second location that's been up for 2 years in the Culver City Mall. So the bookstore has grown tremendously over the last 2 years, and only because people want to know. People are supportive of Malik Books.
Well, that's why when you asked us for a title, that's why from devastation to elevation, you know, we feel blessed because of the overwhelming support of our customers and so many people whom we don't know who have contributed to our success, and see what we're doing. And it's nice to be seen because it hasn't always been that way. From devastation to elevation, the pandemic was tough on everybody. And so as a small business, yes, it was tough. But we was able to find a way out of it and prosper. And so that's why we chose that title, from devastation to elevation, because all of these things like the bookmobile and the book fairs that we put on at the schools and the podcast, all of that came after the pandemic. She tells the story best about how the podcast came about. So I'm gonna let you talk about that.
Well, you said it well. So, during the pandemic, Malik at the time was doing book reviews for Ryan Seacrest on Kiss. And it was once a month thing that he would just do book reviews because people were in their homes, just listen to radio or watching TV of sorts. No one was able to get out. So the love, the passion that Malik has, as you guys can see, for this book thing, he loves what he does. And you not only can you see it, you can actually feel it when he talks about it. So at this moment, I think it was going to be the last time he would do the book review for Ryan on syndicated radio. He said, "Hey Malik, I feel your passion and love for this book. I'm going to offer you a podcast about books." And that's a huge thing, to be offered a podcast of that stature on syndicated radio. That's huge. And he always downplay it, but that's nothing to be downplayed, because not only can people here can see and feel us, but it's syndicated, so you can have that voice all around the world. And that's a huge thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was gonna just piggyback off of that pod. The name of the podcast is called Malik's Bookshelf, bringing the world together with books, culture, and community. So I'm on my 55th. It just came out today. It's called Out with the Old, In with the New.
Okay.
On iHeart, or wherever you listen to podcasts, you can listen. Basically, my latest podcast was about 2022, lead on what I've done. In some of the episodes, I interviewed Spike Lee, Terry Crews, who was some of the
So many people. Not only
Omarion,
names, but also
a lot
the
of
ones that
independent
needed the
authors.
voice to be heard as well.
Yeah.
And it's not only showing us like, hey, we are touching so many people, but we're touching people's lives, and they're touching people's lives. So that's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah. And I try to do a book review or interview someone, but we always interview the independent author, because that's how the Black Book Revolution got started. The independent self-published author who couldn't get their books published in mainstream, they self-published. Well, back then, you had to, it wasn't no print on demand, so you had to buy a lot of books and store them in your garage. Today is about print on demand, but that's how we got started. And many of them went on to get major deals because they sold a lot of independent books. And so a lot of the Random House and Penguin and a lot of the major publishers You know, a lot of them got deals because of our contribution in helping them sell their books. And so that's why bookstores are important, because you know, we just don't sell books, we sell gifts. And what happens, you know, I remember the black greeting card business back in the 80s. And let me tell you something. When I was growing up, the only cards I could give my mom was with animals or, you know, with other people on it. It wasn't no greeting cards with black people in the 80s, back in the early. You know, but when this black company came out, like Carol cards, they no longer exist. But we could see black greeting card with black people on them. And Hallmark created mahogany cards,
Yeah.
you know, so there was starting to be some representation, but we were outlets for products like this that came out because Target wasn't carrying them, other places wasn't carrying, but black bookstores was carrying you. Sometimes you can complain about an issue, but the question is, what can you do to contribute to a change? I always say, you know, books, not bullets. You know, that's why we consider ourselves book activists, because we use books to change our community and ourselves rather than complain about things. We're trying to do something. This is our contribution to the social injustice and all the ailments that, you know, that are messy. You know, so
Right. Well, we certainly see the Messy Conversations platform is our form of, in our history here at Antioch, and we have quite an illustrious history going back to the Niagara movement. And what I did notice with David Ruggie and the work they were doing in 1834, because just a few years prior to that, the Freedom Journal, which was the first Black newspaper, Black press, they had put together a program in New York, which Frederick Douglass was part of, where they, because Black folk were not allowed to obviously be in libraries or even read, they started a program where they would lend books out, and they would go out into community. And I really see this bookmobile. I can just see the children and that you're bringing that to them. I can see how the podcasts and other things can make a difference. But I think a really large issue are the certain authors. Now, David mentioned earlier how we have a book club we try to do every quarter. We've had Cass, 1619, and other books. And I'm wondering, how do you see, or how do you align what you're doing to give other opportunities for Black authors? Because we know with the publishing company, but what about the Black authors and those that are, I mean, there's some great titles out there now. Someone just called me today about a book on reparations. So how are you connecting those things with the authors, giving them opportunities? And people in the community that that need a voice. They may not be the scholars in writing, but they need a voice and they need to get their information out.
Well, they actually come to us. Sometimes we seek, and sometimes they say, how can I get my book in here? They'll come to us, and you know, when I look at them, I'll say, you deserve to have your books on the shelf. And they are so happy. We just had a book signing with a young lady. My mother's a superhero, and she wrote a children's book about her mom and her life experience with her mom, because, you know, she was a Black little girl with hair that didn't look like everyone else. And she was like, well, my mom is everything, and didn't know how hard her mom was struggling, but because she didn't know, you know, children don't know, and she didn't have anything that represented her. So she's also an educator, and she wrote a book, and we had an open book signing for her, and it was beautiful. So they sought us out, as well as we give them an opportunity to have books on our shelves.
Absolutely. Without the independent self-published, we wouldn't exist. That's how we got started.
Mhm.
They're important. How can we forget them? Never forget your beginnings.
Mhm.
It's important to remember who you are and how you started. We can never thank the independent authors, because that's the beginning of Malik Books. Those were the books that we carried back in the day. And we still continue to work with our independent self-published authors. I interview them all the time. They walk into Malik Books and I'm there, they can't leave without giving me an interview for a podcast. I do them on the spot.
We also did the any book day. We had how many authors?
Yeah, we had like 30 authors. We
Independent.
on the independent bookstore day, which is I think the first or second Saturday of every April. I think it's the first. But last year we decided to host an event.
In the center of the mall, in the center of Culver City Mall.
And we invited self-published and independent authors and
Mhm.
took over Westfield Culver City Mall, did it center court, partnered with the mall, and we hosted it downstairs, and they really appreciate that because we was trying to get, we like to say, we give voice to the voiceless, and so it's important to never forget about the independent and self-published author, and we have many of those books on our shelves and on our website, and they are a major part. We love to host them, and we're approached by them all the time, and so they're a vital part of what we do.
Okay. Well, I was thinking that perhaps, David, this might be a good point to maybe open it up, and then we can come back, because I had some questions about Pan-African Film Festival is coming up, Black History Month, and we want to maybe know a little more about what Malik's is going to be doing. But do we have any questions that we might want to
We
entertain?
currently have a dearth of questions.
Okay.
But maybe some more will roll in here. We have one. I'm gonna jump in and ask one myself.
Okay.
So, I'm thinking about when you started, 1990, and you described that as a time when there was just a bunch of Black bookstores opening nationwide. But I also know that was a tough time to open an independent bookstore. A dear friend of mine opened a bookstore in Echo Park called Stories, which you may be familiar with, at about that time. And it was hard, really hard for independents. And so I wonder what the secret to your success is. How have you managed to fight off the Goliaths over all these years?
That's an excellent question, and you got to transform. Always. It's a book. I can't remember the author's name right now, but it's called "Who Moved My Cheese?"
Oh, yeah.
And everybody, most of y'all probably read that book, but that book sold millions. But hey, change gonna come, and you need to prepare for it. And so I'm always looking for, the changes among us so that we can navigate and still survive, because the cheese is going to be moved. And so over the years, I've relocated, I resurfaced, I jumped on the internet, and I just found different ways to try to survive, because it was tough, and particularly, I didn't have a degree from USC in business. I majored in public administration. I thought I was going to go back to DC, work in one of them government offices, because that's where I was from, Washington, DC. And so, but that didn't happen. My future was changed the moment I, awoke and the spirit was quickened. And so what happened is I had, like I said, I had to lose a lot of money to learn about what I was doing. And so over the years, if nothing else in life, you should learn from all your mistakes. That's how you grow. Without making mistakes, there ain't no growth, so we have to learn. So I had to make counter move, just now, some of my things that I think that's important to do is, like I said, we believe children are 100% of our future. So we focus on kids, we focus on the youth, we focus on the teens, that's why we have a large selection of children books and teen books and youth books. But, using the social media platforms in order to reach a new audience, and to grow the audience and to grow our internet, malikbooks.com nationwide, learning, those things wasn't around in the 90s. So like I said, in the 90s, I closed that location quick in a hurry after a year and moved to another location because that area, you know, I didn't know in business, the 3 rules of business is location, location, location. And so I choose like malls. And during that time, when I started in Baldwin Hills, Crenshaw Mall, Walden Books was around. I believe they was in there. So, but my selection was different from there. So we both could survive because they were a general and we were primarily, you know, a Black bookstore. So I had to find, you know, a mixture of books along with gifts, you know, because maybe they won't buy a book, but maybe they'll buy a gift, you know. So you try to find, and then, you know, I did a lot of outreach, did like, there were big expos, Black expos and different fairs, Black Family Fair, there was at Exposition Park, different events, because that's how I use events in order to brand what I'm doing, you know. So I go to the people. And so it came with great sacrifice. Setting up books are not lightweight, they're very heavy. And you know, I ended up with a back surgery back in 2005 because of lifting all them books over the years. You know, I created a vertebrae issue. So but going out to the LA Times Festival of Books, like, you know, you there, ain't gonna be but a handful of Black bookstores there. We were one of them when they started at UCLA. We was out there, Esselwan was out there, we were out there. But just, you know, you gotta find what works and what could generate income, because you know, at first it would start out labor of love, but then you realize that, you know, you got to do is make some money to live too, you know.
Right.
And so you know, you realize that I got to find the right location, because we're in the age of what I call urban sharecropping. Ain't nothing changed. Sharecropping is just in the urban way where you just paying enough to pay your rent. I've been in that situation where you just slaving enough to pay the landlord, but ain't got no money to put in savings and for yourself. So, and so, but the urban sharecropping is alive and well. It's going, you know, all across these high absorbing rents. So a lot of people, you know, it's hard to survive, be able to pay your rent, your lease, and to live, you know. So, you know, it was rough and it's tough. But I'm still here though. I had to make changes. I had to transform. I had to create new relationships. But people say, how did you get started? Friends in all walks of life. I say, you never know who you're gonna meet. Someone gave me a credit line for books. That's, you know, and I was able to get started. Even if I didn't have the money at that time, I had a friend and he believed in me and he gave me, you know, a credit line where I got the books. And so sometimes, you know, you might not have the money, but you might know somebody who do got the money. They help you out.
Yeah.
I hope I answered your question.
You certainly did, and I want to point out that Mihi notes that one of the secrets to your success has to be your enthusiasm, and I'd add one more.
I bought into this dream because of his enthusiasm. I came from the nursing field. I'm a registered nurse by trade, and was behind the bed for 16 years prior to him. So when I seen that his love for this, I mean, I just bought into it. It was like a magnet. I bought into it, and then when I bought into it and started doing it myself, it just attracted something else out of me too. And now I just love it myself. I love it myself. But him, it's just something in him when he just talks about the books. You can feel it. You can see it. If you close your eyes and have him speak about it, you can feel it. So I agree with it. I bought into it as well.
Truth be told, I wasn't always like this either. I don't know where this came from. I was an introvert. I was shy. I was afraid to speak and talk. You know, I don't even know where this came from. But
it comes from something that you love to do. So something that you love to do, it changes who you are, period. So if you find something that you love to do, this is what happens.
Well, it's clearly infectious in a way that your nursing didn't help you. But the other one I want to mention is just, you know, you clearly have established yourself as a hub for community. And that just seems vital for the work that you're trying to do. But I want to shift gears. We have somebody who's been waiting for a while. Lily McCarroll has a question about, you know, banned books. And Lily, would you like to bring your question into the conversation?
Sure. First of all, thank you, April and Malik, for being here and for talking about your bookstore. It's been such a privilege to hear about it. And I agree, your enthusiasm and your joy is just infectious and really, really inspirational. Anyway, my question regarding banned books was, I'm wondering if there's any difficulty in bookstores and Black bookstores such as yours acquiring and spreading books that have been banned specifically by Black authors. And if so, or either way, you know, what are some ways that you would recommend of what people can do to help make some of those banned books more accessible to folks that want to read them?
Okay. A lot of Black authors been banned. You know, Toni Morrison, The Bluest Heart was banned. You know, this, you know, that's, you know, this is America. And unfortunately, everybody don't think the same way. And so a lot of books that have a different, you know, meaning or overtone or plot or what have you, you know, like right now, a lot of critical race theory, that's all in the media, and a lot of books that dealing with that is banned and so forth. And so you have a lot of books that are, for whatever reason, the power structure just don't want to see those books in schools or kids or with kids and so forth. So this is an ongoing thing. And you know, a lot of good books have joined that list as a result. Back, you know, years ago and today, new books are being added. So as far as Black bookstore, you know, a lot of those books that were banned, a lot of them, you know, Black bookstore, we carried them. We carried them. We were an outlet where a person could get a book that was banned that you couldn't find in a major bookstore, you know, in a general bookstore. You know, you couldn't find a lot of those books were on our shelves. A lot of hard to find books was on our shelves. You know, we give voice to the voiceless. And so we feel like, you know, it's important to have books that are not so, as mainstream, that thinks outside the box, that offers new and refreshing type of idea and so forth. We think that that's healthy, to have a refreshing and a different, you know, way of seeing the world and looking at a situation. So a lot of those books, they found our way on our shelf. They found their way on a lot of Black bookstores across the nation. I think it's important to carry these books. We certainly have some of them. We're a bookstore, so we have, you know, it's not necessarily the contents of the book, because I, you know, me personally and us, I believe, you know, in free speech. I think that that's the saving grace of America. I think that the reason what separates America from a lot of nations is because of free speech. But the minute we start censoring and banning books because you don't like the contents or you don't like what's in there, I think that, you know, it sets up the false narrative and it's damaged. I don't think, listen, there never would have been a Martin Luther King or a Malcolm X or an abolition if you didn't speak out and think different. And so if you start getting into the censoring and banning things just because you don't like what's the content, I think, you know, we chokehold, you know, our future. Now, of course, there's some things that you have to be careful with because, you know, it might not be child appropriate. It might not be age appropriate, I mean. And so you know, we don't sell pornography to kids, right? It's you got to be a certain age. We don't sell pornography anyway, but I'm just saying that, you know, some things are age appropriate that you need to be concerned with because the maturity is not there and the understanding is not there and so forth. But you know, censorship and free speech, I think is the saving grace of America. And that's what make America, great, is because of those Bill of Rights. And the minute we start, tampering with that, I think that, we setting ourselves up for, a lot of injustice.
I'd like to follow up on Lily's question, if that's all right. I've heard other bookstore owners, I'm thinking of Fair and Getty, for instance, up in San Francisco, took a similar stand and ran afoul of the law because of that. I wonder, have you run into trouble for selling banned books or banned authors?
I have. I remember back in the 80s that I was at an event and it was a lot of I guess attention towards certain books. And so I know I have for carrying certain books. But the thing is, we don't carry the books because we're trying to hurt another person. We're not carrying a book that's, being pro-Black is not anti-white, and being pro-Black is not putting down another culture. It's just, trying to uplift our culture and learn about our culture and be unapologetic about who and what we are. And I think sometimes people take that as being anti-racism, I mean, not anti-racism, but reverse racism, because you're pro-Black, and they take it the wrong way. And it's all about understanding, it's like Black Lives Matter, right? When people say that, that's not saying that all lives don't matter. We know all lives matter. Every life matters. But to say Black Lives Matter, is not, saying other people don't matter, but it's like, it's a lot of sensitivity. And, if the thing is, the reality is that you got to give people space and the opportunity to express themselves. You can't put everybody in the same box. And when you start doing that, you only are going to create more dissension. So you got to let people express themselves in the manner that they feel is necessary in order to create the change that they need to make.
Thank you for that. And thank you for Lily for the question. We have two people with a very similar question. So I'm going to call on both of them at the same time. Audrey Mandelbaum and Gregory McKim are both interested in how do you inspire reading? So if Gregory and Audrey would like to unmute themselves and bring their questions in, that would be great.
Audrey, do you want to jump in, or should you want me to take the lead?
You go ahead, Gregory, and I will just we can tag team it.
First, April and Malik, thank you so much for this. This is wonderful. I read an email a few days back from William Groves, and I'll quote this. According to the U.S. Department of Education, 54% of U.S. adults from 16 to 74 lack reading proficiency below the equivalence of a sixth grader, and 60%. This is the part that I read this sentence 4 times. 60% of the population has never read a book in their lives, and I thought maybe it was a typo. I thought maybe the 0 should have been there. But if that's true, can you confirm if that's pretty close to your knowledge?
It's a statement. It's always been said. It said, if you want to hide something, then put it in a book.
So, well, there you go. So now on to the question, which is Audrey's question as well, I assume. I haven't seen it.
So it might be some truth to that.
What sort of ideas, what sort of things do you do, especially with young people, considering the era we live in now? What do you do that's effective? What are you doing ongoing? And maybe other people can do to get people interested in reading. Because I just can't imagine not reading a book. I don't know I don't know how life would be like.
Yeah, that's a high number, and that's a devastating number. And we definitely need to do something about that. Because part of our brand at Malik Books is to create excitement. The total African American experience of pride, joy, and self-esteem, where we give voice to the voice. I try to use my enthusiasm, my passion to make it fun. Like I've had MC Hammer. I don't know if y'all know about MC Hammer. Maybe
yeah.
some of y'all do.
I do.
But at one time he was, a top artist. And his hype man came into the store with his family to meet me. And I happened to be there. And the purpose was, he said, man, I had to come and meet you. I was the hype man for MC Hammer. He said, man, you are the hype man for books. He said, I've been following you on your social media, man. You are so hype.
Okay.
You make reading fun. And look, I get people coming to me from different walks of life and telling me that I didn't know this, but they telling me that I'm like the late night car salesman, but I do books, you know what I'm saying? And they say I try to make books, fun to read and enjoyable to read. And so that's what
What do you think of, okay, are there any movements out there that are doing something along these lines on a grand scale? What do you think gets in the way of people not interested in reading?
That's a good question because I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I know that children are 100% of our future. And so we try to, the purpose of the Bookmobile is to go out to them and put on a book fair and to make reading fun. But we bring, sometimes we bring someone to read books and so forth. And we just did a book giveaway during the Winter Wonderland at the Baldwin Hills Christian Mall, gave away 3,000 books. We want to get back to community in Leimert Park. We gave away between Winter Wonderland and Snow Day at Leimert Park. We end up giving away around 3,500 books to the community. That's us trying to do something about to help encourage reading because we think that that's important. There's no occupation. There's nothing you could do in this world. You can't even graduate from high school.
It's hard
if
to
you
drive
not
on the freeway if you can't read. How do you know which turn to take?
Exactly.
I'm sorry, Audrey, I didn't mean to take all your time up. But before I finish, I would like to say one. I would like to thank you, Malik, for something you said. When you said the first thing you look for yourself the first thing you look for in a picture of yourself, I've always been embarrassed because I did that. I thought I was an egotistical jerk. And I never shared this with anybody, but when you said it, it just hit me how challenging it would be if I looked in pictures all over the world and I never saw anybody like me. I never really got it until you said that. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
And Audrey, you want in on this conversation?
Sure. I mean, I love this discussion, and it just seems to me, that younger people are so, I mean, particularly teens and college students who have been isolated during the pandemic. I have a teenage son, so I mean, I count myself among the people that have sort of looked in awe at how young people are so hooked on digital media now. And as someone of a certain generation, I hesitate to say that that's a bad thing, but it seems like a bad thing. I mean, I'm looking for like the Gen Z or some digital native in this room to counter that. I'm not sure I'm seeing that, but I'd love to hear from you digital natives in the Zoom room. I mean, you're an independent bookstore, so you sort of, are very community connected, but just on a broader scale, like, what are you seeing with these digital natives? And do you think about that? Do you encounter it from your digital native, audience?
Well, as parents ourselves of teenagers, we have those too, but we still encourage our children to read. We have a daughter that over the pandemic, she read 80 books. That books can take you somewhere else. Books can have you going to Fiji and you write in your living room. So the digital era, even if they are in the digital land, we still have people that love to smell their books and write in their books and page turn. So I don't think books are going anywhere just because they have phones or computers, because we still like us, we bred our children to read and feel and note take in their books. So as long as they have us, even though they have those phones, we still have the leisure of feeling and touching their books.
You know, well, hey, the television has been dethroned. Before we was to talk about the hours and hours they watching television, but the video games and the phones have dethroned the television. The television is programming. And so all this stuff has always been designed to be addictive. and hey, it's a lot of programming, whether it be television, phones, video games, you know. We trying to break into it with books, you know, because hey, those occupy a lot of time and a lot of space with our youth. We have seen, I've talked to many parents, and the phone has just transformed a lot of our youth. And they, you know, personality and their and just the way they see things and the direction that they behave is that phone has had a tremendous effect, and it's addictive. And you know, it's just one more instrument that we got to deal with. You know, so these are some of the issues that are messy now.
And that's one of the reasons why we did the Bookmobile, because we thought about that. We go to these schools and track meets, soccer, and all we see is the kids on the phone. They don't know how to communicate or anything of this. They don't know how to communicate at all. So him and I came up like, well, what can we do? And the Bookmobile was right on. You have no excuses not to have a book in your hand. You can have a phone, you can have a book. So we brought the Bookmobile to them with no excuses.
Went to the track meets, to the soccer field. We rolled up with the Bookmobile. Man, the parents came up, man, thank you. And we're going to be out here all day. They need to buy a book and they need to be reading that are on them phones, sitting up in them stands. You be up there when the sun comes up and the sun go down. We out there all day. So, hey, that was, you know, they really thanked us for, you know, bringing the books to the youth at these athletic events. You know, and we're just trying to do the best we can to create a generation of change and make books part of that with our kids. We want them to love themselves, be the change, and, you know, and be productive as they, you know, move forward and in this country.
So I want to thank Gregory and Audrey for those questions. We also have kind of a dual contribution from Kat Bell. One is a off ramp here with a TikTok reference, and the other is a question about kids' books. Kat, you want to come into the conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know if I count as a digital native. I think I am a digital adopter, but I have fallen into the book talk hole, which is phenomenal. It's all sorts of people talking about books. And one of the creators that I follow is 34 and just now learning how to read, and is sharing his journey of what it means to become an adult reader and all the places of anxiety that he would avoid: menus, grocery stores, general interactions where people might ask him to read. And it's just beautiful watching him. I'm often on his lives where he's just reading aloud to get practice for himself, but also sharing like just pure joy in exploring these other worlds that are kind of transporting him. But I have a niece that's about to turn 5. She's growing up in New Orleans in kitchen life. And I was just wondering what your favorite book that you have for children is right now.
Mine is I'm Enough. Yeah,
I'm enough.
mine is I'm Enough.
I was just thinking that the same title in my mind. I'm enough. I just love that title. Those 3 words say it all. You got to know that you're enough, no matter what, no matter who, no matter how you look, the color of your skin. You know, that's what she wrote the book. Say, I'm enough to inspire our youth, and so I concur. That's, you know, one of our most popular books. but it's because the message is in there. It's really a good message. And, you know, book like Hair Love, you know, some of the things that Black people, we as Black people have to deal with is skin and the texture of your hair. And our kids, you know, I watched my daughter, you know, go through this, you know, transition, you know, looking at her skin and doing certain things about her hair, you know, and these are things that a lot of blacks youth go through. And you know, in society, you know, it teaches, you know, that, you know, white is beautiful, but Black is, you know, evil. And so everything Black is bad and everything white is good. It psychologically, you know, it's a lot of mental health issues that exist. So I'm Enough is a good book to try to, you know, for a little kid. It's a start, you know. Hair Love, it's a start. And we have many others. One of the things I was gonna say was about you know, imagination. And because I know that when I went to SC, I used to like reading science fiction books. And because I like how it made me think and look at the universe. And I would read a lot of Dune. I read that in Dune and all that. I read that in college. Mission Earth series by L. Ron Hubbard. I read that in college. That was 10 volumes. And but I like the imagination and the science. And I say that, you know, that's where your creativity come from. And so books that have a lot of imagination in it will help create, you know, creativity and help our young and our youth think outside the box. You know, Kobe Bryant and his books that he created were dealing with that he targeted a lot of the youth, but it was more so the fantasy and the magic versus the hard work and dedication and devotion and the things that you can do and have power over, which is you. And versus, you know, the wizard and what they can do in terms of magical, you know. And I think that, you know, you got to see yourself and your superpower, you know, your mind. That's where your strength is, you know, your mind and how you think. And that's where all your solutions, all your problems, all you can address by just thinking. And I think imagination. So I love books. Like, you know, we got a section at the store right now. It ain't for really kids, but most of the stories are fiction, you know what I'm saying, for the kids. So it's imagination. But we got to say Afrofuturism with the Octavia Butler and all the little science fiction book that are out now that by Black authors. And we got a little Stephen King up in there, you know, because a good writer is a good writer, you know. But imagination, I think, is so critical because it's gonna take creativity. I went to Dubai. And you can have all the money in the world, but if you ain't got no imagination, you ain't gonna do nothing with it. So over there in Dubai, they got imagination, creating this and creating that and using that to be a tourist attraction for around the world. I said, look at this imagination. But that's what you gotta have today. You can't think, you gotta think outside the box, and you gotta have imagination to be able to do that.
I got 5 quick pieces of business to take care of. One, thank you, Asa, for putting the link to I'm Enough at Malik's in the chat. So if you're interested in the book, just hit the link and you can pick that up. I want to mention Sue Warland put a great idea in the chat when she says when she's done with her Messy Conversations book club books, she leaves them in the neighborhood for people to pick up. Beautiful. 3, we gotta just thank you so much, April and Malik, for coming, for being part of this Messy Conversations community.
Thank you.
And for this partnership. Just outstanding to have you here. 4, to remind you that next week is Martin Luther King Jr. So we won't be having Messy Conversations, but we'll be back the week after that. So write that down somewhere. And then 5, we wrap up at 5, but we hang out for the after party. It's often the best part of Messy Conversations for the next 15 minutes or so. April and Malik said that they could do that. And I've noticed that Sarah had her hand up. So I'm going to hand things off to Sarah to see what she wanted to contribute. Thank you again so much, Malik.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Sarah?
Yeah, I really appreciated your story about finishing college and then understanding the importance of your self-love and knowing yourself and really finding that in books. And I'm wondering, you know, because there's so much of that is part of the undergraduate student experience that we try to provide here at Antioch. A lot of our students are really grappling with some of these issues themselves and trying to see what's ahead for me and in the way of work, but also really learning themselves differently. And I wonder if there was a book from that time that really was helpful to you in thinking about that space.
That transformation. Well, I'll tell you that, you know, Nipsey Hussle didn't have a high school diploma or college degree, but he changed his life. And the Nipsey Hussle reading list has been one of the most, you know, popular book lists at Malik Books. Well, I'll tell you the 4 books that had a difference in transforming Nipsey Hussle's life. And those 4 books, we call it the Nipsey Pack at Malik Books because they had the significant impact on him. Number 1, isn't in no order, but the first one is Powernomics, the economic blueprint for Black America. You know, a lot of issues that Black people suffer from is economics. And Dr. Claude Anderson devoted his whole life to try to just say, hey, you know, we need to learn how to recycle the Black dollar and we need to pull money together. 90% of our problems we can solve ourselves with the money we have. Think about this. If Black people, if we're probably about 40, 50 million, who knows, you know, in America. But think about if 40 million Black people gave $20 a month, that's $800 million. I think that's what, around 12 billion a year. How much good in the hood can 12 billion do with money you already have? $1.5 trillion come through our hands. And as we consumers, instead of using that money to do something productive, it's not what the government can do for you. What can we do for ourselves? We can raise billions on our own and do good in the hood, creating hospitals, creating schools, creating housing. A lot of things we can do just with the money. That's how America was built. It pulled this money together. And it's the people of America and created this country. The thing is, there's a lot of things we can do on our own without government aid. We just don't do it. Somebody just won $1 billion playing the Powerball. $2. All these people played. Jackpot went up to billion. Somebody won all that money. All we got to do is pull money together, create a Black fund for the greater good of the hood. But we got to do it on our own. Stop procrastinating and stop blaming this. You know, I'm just saying, like Powernomics. That book plus The Art of War and 48 Laws of Power and The Message to the Black Man. Those are the 4 books that had a significant change in Nipsey Hussle's life. Many of those information in that book is what Malcolm read, is what Muhammad Ali, and there's so many other people, even Dr. King, you know. So it's a lot of times, you know, I call it no more excuses. When we sit around and we know we got issues, but what are the solutions for these issues? We got to come up with answers. And if we can't do that, we just, you know, throwing problems into the wind. And so we know that there's a lot of police brutality and other things, but I think a lot of this stuff can change. You know, we got a lot of obesity and overweight issues, a lot of health issues because of eating the wrong foods. and eating, consuming too much of the bad foods, you know? And so how do we address the obesity and the, you know, lack of education that they said, the low, you know, scores that we getting? And so we got a lot of issues, you know, and but anything can be solved. It's always in a book. You just got to find it, you know, the right book. So those 4 books right now, the millennials love them books. They help them transform. It makes you think different. That's the key. Because to me, whatever the situation you're dealing with, what's the formula to change? What's the formula for success? Life is nothing but the sum total of your decisions and choices that you make. And you have to create a formula of success. So you gotta, it's an equation. That's all life is. It's like, what's your equation to be successful? You know, and you gotta come up with that. And I think reading and books is gonna be part of it though. You know, so
And that pack that he's speaking on, it's actually a pack that keeps on giving. It's a gift that keeps on giving, because once one person purchased that particular pack, the Nipsey pack, we actually give scholarships to students through a foundation that my husband's grandmother put on, the creator.
yeah, she created a scholarship fund,
Yeah.
the Creator Praise Scholarship Fund, which gives scholarships to freshmen entering college. And the purpose of that, that's what the purpose of the scholarship fund. And so we raise money by selling the Nipsey pack, by putting money into the scholarship fund to help freshmen enter college.
As of today, how many?
Yeah, over 21 scholarships so far in the last 5 years. And we raised, you know, around $25,000 for the scholarship fund. And you know, and it's in the name of my grandma, because that's how I got through college. I didn't have no money. I had a scholarship. I ran track. You know, I ran the 1984 Olympic Games. You know, I was good at what I did. I came out of high school ranked #1 in the 100 meters and represented the U.S. in the Pan American Junior Games. And so I was one of the top 1. So I came to SC, but I didn't have any money. You know, I had a scholarship, but they ain't let you work. I ain't had no money. So I sympathize with a lot of these college athletes when they say, hey, man, I'm here. I'll find you the education, but a lot of those cats ain't there for that. They there to go pro. And they don't have money. They come from poor families. They don't have nothing. I couldn't work. I ain't had no money. My grandmother walked the streets and sold sweet potato pies and KDDs to send me $200 a month that I had to budget for lotion, for essentials, you know, underwear, all that. That's all I had, you know? And so the scholarship is devoted, is in her name, and because of all the giving that she's done over the years, and my mom set up to continue her legacy. And so we contribute by selling the Nipsey pack.
Mhm.
So it's a lot of books like Africa's Gift to America by J. Rogers. Nobody knew about J. Rogers back in the day, because he, you know, he was born in the 20s, but he wrote a lot of beautiful books. And, you know, a lot of his books, you know, just shows great achievements, great men of color, and Sex and Race, and Africa's Gift to America by J.A. Rogers. He was phenomenal in what he done. He devoted his whole life just to show Black people that your history didn't start with slavery, that you started before slavery, and that you got to think of yourself not as a former descendant of a slave, but a former descendant of royalty, of greatness. That's where you begin. And he devoted his life to show us icons in history that predate America. And he's in debt for what he's done. Like I say, J.A. Rogers books, Great Men of Color, and Africa Gift to America. And, you know, America is great because of Black people contributions as well. This is what made America the superpower and the greatest nation on the planet. But a lot of people just don't know all the achievements and all the and our contributions. They just don't. You know. I didn't know, and I had a degree from USC.
Well, I want to say that you took my question away. It actually was a comment I wanted to make about the Nipsey Pack. The first time I walked in front of your doorway in the Bowling Crenshaw Mall and saw that, I was so proud, I was so enamored, and I was just so grateful that you took the initiative to let people know that this young man, his life became centered in his latter years around that knowledge, and that other people could buy into that. My only comment at this point is I just wish you could be just a little less enthusiastic.
Roger that.
Well, one
Thank you,
thing I
Clarence.
wanted to, oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Go
I
ahead.
said thank you. I was telling
Oh.
Clarence, thank you.
I wanted to say, you all know now why when I talked to Malik a month or so ago, I was so enthusiastic. And then he said, you got to talk to April. So I talked to April, and I became even more excited. And I see some potential for our partnership beyond this initial. And I'm so grateful that you come to join a conversation with us, because it's one thing that you're going to be providing, and your name came up, and I'm like, Clarence, I've been to the Baldwin Hills, but I never met you all. And by the way, the other site is very close to our campus, and where the majority of us are not on campus now. That's another plus, because the mall is just a few blocks from our campus. But I wanted to say that I see some possible connections. Certainly, you all know me. I've already talked to April, so we got you booked for my class. You didn't know it, but you booked. And we're doing the Harlem Renaissance this quarter. And I bring this up because there's so much we don't know. There's just periods of history. I had no idea about this brother abolitionist a few years after Freedom's Bureau. And they were books, and Black folks are about books and knowledge. They saw it as a source of knowledge. And that we've had the periods where we have not achieved what we wanted to achieve. But I think that when we have businesses like yours, and that's exactly what it is, and that support is needed in the community, an alignment with in higher ed, I can see us working together, Bookmobiles, the podcast, to reach the youth and really enhance, our community, and it's part of our outreach and partnership. So I just want to say that and thank you for your time today, because books are power, and history and power and culture. It says a lot. So appreciate it.
We
Thank
thank you for choosing us, as I
Yes,
say, and I say
yes.
again. Without you, there's no us. And we truly appreciate you guys' presence. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we take just one more minute, Dave?
Of course.
How about a few announcements? We're going to obviously be in contact. And I think our first set of gift certificates went out thanks to Nabi and working in facilitation with you. But I know the Pan-African Film Festival, and I'm going to be talking to Babu to get on Messy Conversations. But you're going to be doing something with Pan-African Film Festival. And we also want to be made aware in terms of Black History Month, what Malik's is going to be doing. So
Well, I
do
know-
you have something coming up?
Yes. We organizing in sponsorship with the Pan-African Film Festival, doing an event called Bet on Black. And it's
That's
about
Wednesday.
Yeah, that's a Wednesday night, February 15th, 7 p.m. It's a new book that's coming out by Ebony K. Williams. She's has a podcast. She's an actress. She's been on the New York
yeah.
housewives and so forth. And so the event is going to be a discussion and book signing and her insight about Bet on Black. And so we're looking forward to that. I'm also trying to organize another event with the Pan-African Film Festival. I don't have a date set in stone yet, but we'll let you know. But it's called Black Hollywood, Reimagining Iconic Movie Moments. And basically, it's a big picture art book that took 12 years in the making for the author of a photographer and artist, Carell Augustus. So we're trying to organize him along with some of the actors and actresses that are in the book to be present at the event as well. We're going to conduct. And so we're trying to do both of those in Black History Month. We got some other things coming up, but right now, them the two that right now is at the foremost and forefront.
Okay. And we're happy to spread the word, because you're the griots of the community on the book side.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else want in on this, or should we let our conversationalists go?
They probably could use a break. 'Cause
Yeah.
they're working folk.
Certainly are. So let us all thank you again. And here's to a terrific 2023 and exploring the possibilities of this new friendship. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Okay, you guys
Have a good
too.
evening. Bye.
Thank you.
Tell Babu hello.
For
Okay.
sure.